The quiet judgment. Dr. Nix Blackwood adjusted the translation matrix on her wrist device, watching as alien symbols flickered into readable text. The diplomatic station Meridian Point hummed around her, a marvel of cooperative engineering where dozens of species had contributed their finest technologies. Crystal spires from the Velthari meshed seamlessly with the organic architecture of the Zephyrians, while human-designed quantum stabilizers kept the entire structure from tearing itself apart in the gravitational dance between three gas giants. She'd spent 2 years aboard this station, cataloging first contact protocols and studying xenobiology patterns. Today's meeting was supposed to be routine, a quarterly review of humanity's integration progress with the Galactic Hegemony Council. Nix smoothed her dark hair, tucked a strand behind her ear, and checked her reflection in the polished metal walls. Professional, confident, ready to represent her species with dignity. The council chamber doors whispered open, revealing an amphitheater that defied human understanding of physics. Gravity flowed in multiple directions, allowing representatives from radically different evolutionary backgrounds to attend comfortably. Nix found her designated platform and activated her personal gravity field, feeling the familiar tug as her feet settled onto the transparent floor. Ambassador Kethvar approached from across the chamber, his scaled hide shifting between deep emerald and bronze as his species' natural mood indicators responded to the formal setting. Nix had worked with him extensively over the past months, finding him surprisingly warm for a reptilian species that had evolved in the crushing depths of high-gravity worlds. Dr. Blackwood. His voice resonated through the translation matrix with what she'd learned to recognize as genuine pleasure. "You appear radiant today." Nix felt warmth rise in her cheeks. Their professional relationship had grown increasingly friendly, with subtle undertones that transcended species barriers. "Thank you, Ambassador. Though I suspect flattery means you have difficult news." Kethvar's chromatophores flickered, the alien equivalent of a nervous laugh. "Perceptive as always. Yes, there are developments we must discuss." The formal session began with the usual ceremonial exchanges. Representatives from 47 species acknowledged each other in a complex ritual that had evolved over millennia of interstellar diplomacy. Nix noted several absent seats, species that rarely attended these meetings but whose presence was traditionally expected. "The matter before us today," announced High Arbiter Solux, a being of pure crystallized thought whose voice emerged from quantum resonance rather than vocal cords, "concerns the evaluation period for species designation 847 Tau." Nix's blood went cold. That was humanity's official designation. "The integration monitoring has been illuminating," Solix continued. "In the standard 50-cycle observation period, this species has demonstrated advancement patterns that fall outside established parameters." Whispers rippled through the chamber in a dozen languages. Nix activated her recording systems, every instinct screaming that this was not the routine review she'd been told to expect. Technological advancement rate, 847% above projected norms. Military capability expansion, 1,200% beyond baseline projections. Resource acquisition and planetary modification, scales not seen since the Hegemon Wars. Nix's hands trembled as she cross-referenced the data streaming across her display. These weren't the cooperation metrics she'd been reporting on. This was a threat assessment. "The preliminary evaluation is complete," Solix announced. "Species 847 Tau represents a Category 5 expansion risk. The recommendation before this council is immediate containment through coordinated military action." The chamber erupted in harmonious agreement from most species, their various forms of approval creating a cacophony that the translation systems struggled to process. Nix rose to her feet, her gravity platform adjusting automatically. "This is madness!" she called out, her voice carrying clearly through the acoustic enhancement systems. "Humanity has followed every protocol, respected every boundary." "Dr. Blackwood," Kethvar's voice cut through her protest, and she saw that his chromatophores had shifted to deep red. Aggression, or perhaps regret. "You were not informed of the true purpose of today's session because your species' reaction patterns needed to be observed in their natural state. You've been studying us like laboratory animals. Nyx breathed, the full betrayal hitting her. For your species' sake and for the galaxy's sake, yes. Kethvar's voice carried genuine sadness. Nyx, I have grown fond of you during our time together. This brings me no joy, but the data is undeniable. Humanity advances too quickly, adapts too readily, expands with too much determination. If left unchecked, you will destabilize the galactic order within 3 generations. So you'll commit genocide instead. We prefer the term preventive stabilization. Solix's crystalline voice remained emotionlessly precise. The vote has already been taken. The military action begins in 72 standard hours. Nyx felt the chamber spinning around her. Through her shock, she noticed something else. Several species representatives showed signs of distress, their various emotional indicators suggesting they hadn't supported this decision. Not everyone agreed, but the majority had spoken. I need to warn them, she whispered. Communications to Sol System have been severed for the past 6 hours, Kethavar said quietly. The isolation protocols began implementation before you entered this chamber. Nyx looked at the alien she'd almost allowed herself to care for, seeing him clearly for the first time. How long have you known? Since our first conversation, he admitted. But Nyx, truly, I had hoped. She didn't wait to hear what he'd hoped. The emergency exit protocols were still active in her access codes, an oversight or perhaps Kethvar's final gift to her. Nyx ran from the chamber, her mind racing faster than her feet. 72 hours. Humanity had 72 hours before the galaxy's most advanced civilizations brought their combined might down on Earth, and she was possibly the only human who knew it was coming. The hidden arsenal Nyx's stolen shuttle screamed through hyperspace, its engines pushed far beyond safe parameters. The alien vessel wasn't designed for the gravitational stresses she was subjecting it to, but 67 hours remained until the invasion fleet reached Earth. She'd burned 5 precious hours escaping Meridian Point's security. Grid, the Sol System's outer perimeter looked eerily normal as she dropped out of hyperspace near Neptune's orbit. Too normal. Where were the defense platforms? The patrol fleets? The early warning systems that should have been screaming alerts about her unauthorized approach? Her comm system crackled to life with a transmission she hadn't expected. Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space. Identify yourself or be fired upon. The voice was human, but the origin point showed empty space. This is Dr. Nyx Blackwood, Xenobiology Division, Emergency Priority Alpha 7. I have critical intelligence about an impending alien invasion. Silence stretched for long seconds. Then space itself seemed to ripple around her shuttle, and suddenly she was surrounded by ships that hadn't been there moments before. Sleek, predatory vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls, making them appear more like holes in reality than actual craft. Dr. Blackwood, you are cleared for docking with Facility Leviathan. Follow the guidance beacons. The guidance beacons appeared as streams of coherent light, leading her down through Earth's atmosphere and into the Pacific Ocean. Nyx watched in amazement as the water parted before her shuttle, revealing a massive underwater installation that stretched beyond the horizon. Crystalline domes and metallic spires rose from the ocean floor, connected by transport tubes that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. The docking bay sealed around her with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. As Nyx emerged from her shuttle, she found herself face to face with a woman whose presence commanded immediate attention. Tall and athletic, with short auburn hair and eyes the color of storm clouds, she wore a uniform that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Dr. Blackwood, I'm Commander Zara Cross, Shadow Fleet Operations. We've been expecting you. Expecting me? Nyx's exhaustion caught up with her suddenly, and she swayed on her feet. Zara's hand caught her elbow, steadying her with surprising gentleness. Easy there. You've had a hell of a journey. Let's get you debriefed and fed. Then we'll show you what humanity's really been up to these past few years. The command center that Zara led her to defied every assumption Nyx had made about Earth's technological capabilities. Holographic displays showed real-time monitoring of every corner of the solar system. Officers moved between stations with practiced efficiency, their uniforms incorporating technology that seemed decades ahead of anything Nix had seen in her university research. "How long has this existed?" Nix asked, accepting a cup of coffee that tasted better than anything she'd had in 2 years of station rations. "The Shadow Fleet? About 15 years, though the planning started much earlier." Zara settled into a chair across from her, and Nix noticed the way the commander's eyes seemed to catalog every detail of her appearance. "We always knew this day would come, but the hegemony told us they were peaceful. The integration protocols were a sham." Dr. Marcus Webb materialized beside them, his projection flickering slightly as he adjusted the holographic transmitters. Even as a hologram, his presence was compelling. Brilliant eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, prematurely gray hair from years spent pushing the boundaries of physics. "I'm broadcasting from the Titan facility. Dr. Blackwood, we've been monitoring hegemony communications for decades. Every species they've integrated has either been subjugated or eliminated." Nix felt the room spinning around her. "Then why did they let me work with them?" "Because they needed to understand how we think," Zara said softly. "And because some of their people, like your ambassador Kethavar, were genuinely trying to find a peaceful solution." "You know about Kethavar?" Zara's expression grew complex, mixing understanding with something that might have been jealousy. "We know about all your contacts. Nix, I want you to understand, none of this is your fault. You were doing exactly what we needed you to do. You used me as a spy without telling me. We used you as our best hope for peace." Dr. Webb's hologram leaned forward. "Every report you sent back, every cultural exchange you facilitated, every friendship you built, it all mattered. But we also had to prepare for the possibility that diplomacy would fail." Zara stood and gestured toward the massive viewing portal that dominated one wall of the command center. "Show her the fleet, Marcus." The display lit up with a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. Thousands of contact points appeared, scattered throughout asteroid belts, hidden in planetary rings, camouflaged against the dark side of moons. Each point represented a human warship, invisible to conventional sensors, waiting. "Quantum stealth technology," Dr. Webb explained. "We phase our ships slightly out of normal space-time. To most sensors, they simply don't exist." "How many?" Nix whispered. "Enough," Zara said firmly. "The hegemony thinks they're attacking a primitive world with minimal defenses. They're about to learn that humanity has been preparing for this war since before you were born." A soft chime drew their attention to the main display. A technician's voice carried across the command center. "Commander, we're detecting hyperspace distortions at the edge of the system. Preliminary analysis suggests a fleet of approximately 8,000 vessels." Zara's hand found Nix's shoulder, and she felt strength flowing from that contact. "Dr. Blackwood, I know this is overwhelming, but I need you to help us understand their tactics, their capabilities, everything you learned during your time with them." "I thought I was building bridges," Nix said quietly. "Instead, I was gathering intelligence for a war." "You were doing both," Zara replied, her voice gentle but determined. "And now you're going to help us win it." As alerts began sounding throughout the facility and officers rushed to battle stations, Nix realized that everything she'd believed about humanity's place in the galaxy had been an illusion. They weren't the junior species seeking acceptance among their betters. They were the hidden predator, waiting in the dark for their enemies to reveal themselves. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and Earth was ready. First, Blood General Vaxthul stood on the command bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Dominion, his crystalline form catching and reflecting the light of distant stars. His species, the Kethmori, had evolved in the crushing depths of gas-giant atmospheres, their bodies naturally forming geometric patterns that could withstand immense pressure. To him, the vacuum of space felt as comfortable as breathing. "Fleet status report," he commanded, his voice resonating through harmonic frequencies that carried both authority and anticipation. "All battle groups report ready." "General," came the reply from his tactical officer. 8,743 vessels, representing the combined might of 31 species. "The humans will have no choice but to surrender once they witness our power." Vaxthul's faceted eyes turned toward the blue dot that was Earth, barely visible against the star field. Intelligence reports suggest they have achieved basic spaceflight, but nothing that could threaten a force of this magnitude. This campaign should conclude within standard rotations. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Commander Zara Cross watched the alien fleet's approach on holographic displays that showed every ship in crystalline detail. Beside her, Nix Blackwood studied the tactical formations with the eye of someone who had spent months learning how different species approached warfare. "They're using a standard hegemony assault pattern," Nix observed. "Heavy dreadnoughts in the center, fast attack craft on the flanks, support vessels maintaining the rear. It's designed to overwhelm primitive defenses through pure firepower." "Perfect," Zara smiled, and Nix felt her pulse quicken at the predatory expression on the commander's face. "They're fighting the last war, not this one." Lieutenant Diana Storm felt the familiar pre-battle tension singing through her nerves as she strapped herself into the pilot's seat of her quantum fighter. The craft was smaller than traditional interceptors, its hull composed of metamaterials that could phase in and out of conventional spacetime. Beside her, through the hangar bay's transparent aluminum viewports, she could see hundreds of similar vessels preparing for launch. "Storm, you're leading Phantom Squadron," came Zara's voice through the comm system. "Your objective is to create maximum confusion in their forward formations. Make them think they're fighting ghosts. Copy that command. Phantom Squadron, sound off. Phoenix 2, standing by." The voice belonged to Lieutenant James Rourke, Diana's wingman, and if she were being honest with herself, the man who had become much more than a fellow pilot during their months of training together. Phoenix 3, ready to dance. Phoenix 4, locked and loaded. One by one, the squadron reported in. 12 fighters, each one representing the pinnacle of human engineering and the desperate hope of their species. The alien fleet reached Mars orbit and began their final approach to Earth. "General," Vaxthul ordered the deployment of his scouts, expecting to find orbital platforms and defense satellites that could be easily neutralized. Instead, they found empty space. "General," his sensor operator called out, confusion evident in the harmonic patterns of his voice. "We're detecting minimal defensive installations, some basic satellites, a few small space stations, but nothing that would pose a significant threat." "Curious," Vaxthul mused. "Perhaps their civilization is more primitive than our intelligence suggested." "No matter. Begin the bombardment sequence. Target their major population centers first. That will encourage a swift surrender." The first wave of hegemony ships moved into attack formation, their weapons charging with energies that could crack continents. They had done this dance countless times before with countless species. The pattern was always the same: overwhelming display of force, quick capitulation, integration into the hegemony's vast empire. This time would be different. Diana Storm felt the quantum field generators humming around her fighter as Phantom Squadron launched from their hidden base. The ocean surface parted above them like a curtain, revealing the star-filled sky where death waited in alien ships. "Remember your training," she transmitted to her squadron. "We phase in, hit hard, and phase out before they can lock onto us. Make every shot count." The fighters rose through Earth's atmosphere like ascending spirits, their quantum drives leaving no heat signature, no electromagnetic trace, no indication of their existence until they chose to reveal themselves. The alien vanguard was closing on Earth's moon when space around them suddenly filled with fire. Human fighters materialized from nothingness, their weapons tearing through alien hulls with precision that spoke of months of planning and preparation. Ships that had been heading toward Earth in perfect formation suddenly found themselves under attack from every direction. "What is this?" General Vaxthul roared as his displays filled with contact reports and damage assessments. "Where are these ships coming from?" "Unknown, General. Our sensors show no sign of them until they open fire." A hegemony cruiser exploded in a brief sun of nuclear fire. Then another. The human fighters moved like deadly phantoms, appearing long enough to deliver devastating strikes before vanishing back into quantum shadow. Diana Storm rolled her fighter through a spiral, that would have been impossible for any conventional aircraft. Her quantum tunneling drive allowing her to pass through the debris field of a destroyed alien ship. James Rourke's voice came through her comm with professional calm that didn't quite hide his excitement. Good kill. Phoenix 1. That's 3 cruisers down. Stay focused, Phoenix 2, Diana replied, but she couldn't suppress the surge of pride and affection in her voice. Flying with James was like dancing with someone who knew her every move before she made it. The first engagement lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, the hegemony had lost over 300 ships to an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, and couldn't understand. General Vaxthul stared at his tactical displays in stunned silence. General, his communications officer reported, "We're receiving a transmission from the human homeworld." The main screen flickered to life, showing a woman in a dark uniform standing in what appeared to be an underwater facility. Commander Zara Cross looked directly into the camera with eyes that held no fear. Only cold determination. General Vaxthul, I am Commander Cross of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our system with hostile intent and engaged our vessels in combat. You have one opportunity to withdraw your forces and return to hegemony space. If you choose to continue this attack, you will discover that humanity is not the primitive species you were led to believe. The transmission ended, leaving the alien bridge in stunned silence. General Vaxthul's crystalline form shifted colors as rage and disbelief warred within him. No species had ever spoken to a hegemony fleet commander with such audacity. No primitive world had ever inflicted such losses on forces under his command. All ships, he transmitted to his fleet, prepare for full assault. These humans have shown us their tricks. Now they will learn the price of defying the hegemony. But as his fleet regrouped for their next attack, more human ships began appearing throughout the system. Not just fighters now, but larger vessels that emerged from asteroid belts and planetary shadows. Ships that moved with deadly purpose toward his scattered formations. The war for humanity's survival had begun in earnest, and General Vaxthul was beginning to suspect that his intelligence reports had been catastrophically wrong. The Revelation Empress Yithandra had ruled the galactic hegemony for over 2 millennia, her consciousness preserved within a biomechanical form that had transcended the limitations of her original species. From her throne ship at the edge of the Sol system, she watched the tactical displays with growing fascination as General Vaxthul's forces regrouped for their second assault. Curious, she mused, her voice a harmony of organic sound and digital precision. In all our campaigns of integration, no species has demonstrated such creativity in their resistance. Her tactical advisor, a collective intelligence representing 12 different species' military expertise, presented the analysis. Empress, the humans appear to utilize quantum manipulation technology that allows their vessels to exist in a state of superposition. They can phase in and out of conventional space-time at will. Impressive for a species that achieved interplanetary travel less than a century ago, Yithandra observed. Unless the thought that had been growing in her ancient mind crystallized into certainty. She opened a secure channel to her archives, accessing records that predated the hegemony itself. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, Nyx Blackwood found herself in the strangest position of her career, serving as a tactical consultant in humanity's war room. The irony wasn't lost on her that her expertise in alien psychology, gained through months of what she thought was peaceful cooperation, was now being used to predict enemy behavior. The second wave will be different, she told Commander Zara Cross as they studied the reforming alien battle groups. Vaxthul's species values honor above survival. He won't retreat after suffering such losses. He'll escalate. Zara nodded, her attention divided between the tactical displays and the woman beside her. Over the past few hours, Nyx had transformed from a shell-shocked civilian into a focused strategist. And Zara found herself admiring more than just her professional capabilities. What kind of escalation are we talking about? Zara asked. Planet killers, Nyx said quietly. The hegemony has weapons that can crack continental plates or boil away atmospheres. If conventional tactics fail, they'll resort to genocide rather than accept defeat. Admiral Helena Cross materialized as a hologram beside them. Her projection transmitted from the command ship Retribution hidden in Saturn's rings. She shared her sister Zara's decisive manner, but where Zara commanded through inspiration, Helena led through calculated ruthlessness. "Then we don't give them the chance," Helena stated. "Dr. Blackwood, based on your analysis, how long before they deploy their strategic weapons?" "Hours, not days," Nix replied. "Maybe 12 hours at most. Then it's time to show them what Earth is really capable of." Helena's expression held secrets that made Zara straighten with anticipation. "Zara, initiate Protocol 7. Are you sure?" Zara asked. "Once we reveal the Titan-class vessels, there's no going back to being underestimated." "They forfeited that luxury when they voted for our extinction," Helena replied coldly. Throughout the solar system, something ancient began to stir. Hidden shipyards that had been constructed in the shadow of gas giants came online. Facilities that had been disguised as asteroid mining operations revealed their true purpose. And from the depths of space itself, vessels began to emerge that dwarfed even the largest hegemony. Dreadnoughts Lieutenant Diana Storm was refueling, her fighter in one of the mobile bases hidden in the Kuiper Belt when the first Titan-class vessel passed by her position. The ship was so massive that it created its own gravitational field, a predatory leviathan of dark metal and quantum field generators that seemed to bend space around itself. "My God," she whispered, watching through the viewport as the massive vessel deployed weapon systems that defied her understanding of physics. "Diana." James Rourke's voice came from beside her, and she turned to find him watching her with an expression of concern and something deeper. "Whatever happens in the next few hours, I want you to know." She silenced him with a kiss that spoke of desperation and hope and the fierce need to affirm life in the face of annihilation. When they broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. "Tell me after we win," she said softly. "We're going to win, James. We have to." General Vaxthul's second assault began with the deployment of his planet-killer weapons. Massive orbital bombardment platforms that could reduce continents to slag moved into position around Earth, their targeting systems locking onto major population centers. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. "If these humans wish to fight, they can watch their world burn." The first planet killer fired, its beam of concentrated antimatter streaking toward the surface of Earth. The energy discharge was sufficient to obliterate everything within a 1,000-kilometer radius. The beam struck something in Earth's upper atmosphere and simply stopped. A shimmering barrier of energy absorbed the planet killers. Full output and redirected it harmlessly into space. "Impossible," Vaxthul breathed. Then the Titan-class vessels revealed themselves. They rose from the shadows of planets and moons like awakening gods, their weapons systems charging with energies that made the hegemony's planet killers look like primitive projectile weapons. The lead vessel, Prometheus Unbound, established communications with the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Helena Cross of the Earth Defense Force. You have attempted to destroy our homeworld and murder our civilians. By the ancient laws of warfare, you have forfeited any claim to mercy." The Prometheus Unbound fired once. Its primary weapon, a focused singularity projector, created a miniature black hole that consumed 3 hegemony dreadnoughts before dissipating into quantum foam. Empress Yeath Andra watched from her throne ship as the impossible unfolded before her. The archives had confirmed her suspicions, and now she understood what the hegemony faced. "All ships, cease fire immediately," she transmitted on all frequencies. "General Vaxthul, withdraw your forces to safe distance. I am assuming direct command of this operation." "Empress?" Vaxthul's confusion was audible across the comm channel. "We can still achieve victory. We simply need to—" "You fool." Yathandra's voice carried millennia of authority and the weight of terrible knowledge. "Don't you recognize the ship designs? The technology signatures? The quantum manipulation capabilities?" She opened a direct channel to Earth, addressing Admiral Helena Cross directly. "Admiral, I am Empress Yeath Andra of the Galactic Hegemony. I believe it is time we discuss the true nature of your species. You are not the primitive civilization we thought we were judging. You are the children of the predecessors, aren't you? The silence that followed stretched across the void between species, heavy with the weight of ancient secrets about to be revealed. The New Dawn president, Elena Vasquez, stood in the secured briefing room beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by humanity's highest-ranking military and civilian leaders. The revelation that had just been broadcast across all channels would reshape everything humanity thought it knew about itself. "Confirm the translation accuracy," she ordered, though she knew the words had been clear enough. The Empress of the Galactic Hegemony had just acknowledged humanity as the descendants of the predecessors, the ancient civilization that had once ruled the galaxy, before mysteriously vanishing 50,000 years ago. Admiral Helena Cross appeared via holographic projection from the bridge of Prometheus Unbound. "Madam President, we're receiving requests for direct communication from Empress Yith-Andra. She's requesting a formal parley under ancient diplomatic protocols." "Do we even know what those protocols are?" Elena asked. Dr. Marcus Webb materialized beside Helena's projection, his excitement evident even through the holographic interface. "We do now. The moment she invoked predecessor authority, our deep archive systems came online. Madam President, we have access to technologies and knowledge that have been dormant for millennia, waiting for the right circumstances to activate." In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Nix Blackwood stood beside Commander Zara Cross, watching as alien vessels throughout the solar system powered down their weapons and assumed defensive postures. The transformation from hostile invasion force to uncertain diplomatic mission had happened in less than an hour. "How does it feel?" Zara asked quietly, "learning that everything you thought you knew about human history was incomplete?" Nix leaned against the railing overlooking the command center, acutely aware of Zara's warmth beside her. "Overwhelming, terrifying, but also—" She paused, searching for words. "It explains so much. Why we adapt so quickly. Why we're so driven to explore and expand. Why we seem to understand alien technology intuitively. Why you fell for an alien diplomat." Zara's voice carried a note of gentle teasing, but also something more vulnerable. Nix turned to face her fully. "I thought I did. But looking back, I think what I felt for Kethvar was curiosity and the excitement of connecting with something genuinely alien. What I feel for you?" She let the sentence hang between them. Zara stepped closer, her storm-gray eyes searching Nix's face. "What do you feel for me?" "Like I'm exactly where I belong," Nix said softly, then smiled. "Is it too soon to be having this conversation while humanity's future hangs in the balance?" "Probably," Zara admitted, then kissed her anyway. It was a kiss that tasted of hope and determination, of two people finding each other in the middle of the most significant moment in human history. The formal parley took place aboard a neutral vessel, hastily constructed from both human and hegemony technologies. President Vasquez led the human delegation, accompanied by Admiral Helena Cross and, surprisingly, Nix Blackwood, whose expertise in cross-species communication had become invaluable. Empress Yith-Andra appeared in person for the first time, her biomechanical form a graceful fusion of organic curves and crystalline technology. Beside her stood Ambassador Kethvar, his chromatophores cycling through patterns that Nix recognized as deep regret and cautious hope. 50,000 years ago, the Empress began, the predecessors ruled the galaxy with wisdom and benevolence. They guided younger species, shared knowledge freely, and maintained peace among the stars. Then, without warning or explanation, they simply vanished. Every ship, every station, every trace of their civilization disappeared overnight. President Vasquez maintained her diplomatic composure, despite the magnitude of what she was hearing. "And you believe humanity are their descendants?" "The evidence is overwhelming," Yith-Andra replied. "Your technology develops along predecessor lines. Your ships utilize quantum manipulation in ways that match their signature techniques. And now, faced with existential threat, you've accessed archives and capabilities that have been dormant for millennia." Ambassador Kethvar stepped forward, his gaze finding Nix. "Dr. Blackwood, I owe you an apology that spans species. My feelings for you were genuine, but I allowed duty to override personal conviction. I should have warned you of the Council's true intentions." Nix felt Zara's subtle tension beside her and realized that this moment would define more than just interspecies relations. Your warning wouldn't have changed the outcome, Kethvar. If anything, it would have made the situation worse. Humanity needed to face this threat as ourselves, not as the heirs to some ancient legacy. Wisely spoken, the Empress observed, which brings us to the present situation. The hegemony voted to eliminate humanity based on fear of your rapid advancement. Now we understand that advancement is your birthright, not an aberration. The question becomes, what do we do now? Admiral Helena Cross leaned forward. Empress, with respect, the question isn't what we do. It's what you do. Humanity has proven we can defend ourselves. We've also proven we prefer cooperation to conquest. The choice is yours. Some within the hegemony will never accept this new reality, Yathandra admitted. They will see humanity's return as a threat to their power, to the order they've built in the predecessor's absence. Then they'll learn what happened to the last people who underestimated us, Helena said with quiet certainty. The negotiations continued for hours, establishing the framework for a new galactic order. Humanity would be recognized as the inheritors of predecessor authority, but would exercise that authority through cooperation rather than domination. The hegemony would be restructured as a true alliance of equals rather than a hierarchy of subjugation. Not all species accepted the new arrangement. Several of the more aggressive members of the former hegemony departed for distant galaxies, preferring exile to accepting human leadership. But many others, particularly those who had been oppressed under the old system, welcomed the change. Lieutenant Diana Storm and Lieutenant James Rourke were among the first humans assigned to the new integrated fleet, their fighters now working alongside alien vessels in joint patrols. The night before their first mission, they stood together on the observation deck of the orbital station that had become the new galactic capital. "Hard to believe it's really over," Diana said, watching the lights of 1,000 different ships moving in peaceful formation outside the viewport. "It's not over," James replied, taking her hand. "It's just beginning. We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're helping to build something better than what came before." Diana smiled, leaning into his warmth. "Think we're up to it? Living up to the legacy of the predecessors? I think we'll do better than that," James said confidently. "We'll be ourselves." 6 months later, Nix Blackwood stood in the garden of her new home on New Geneva, the orbital habitat that served as humanity's diplomatic headquarters. The garden was a marvel of bioengineering, incorporating plants from dozens of worlds in a harmony that would have been impossible under the old hegemony. Zara Cross found her there, as she had every evening since they'd made their relationship official. The commander had adapted well to her new role as head of the Interspecies Defense Force, though she still preferred hands-on leadership to administrative duties. "How was your day?" Zara asked, settling onto the bench beside Nix. "Productive. We've established contact with 3 more species that want to join the Alliance, and I received a message from Kethvar. He's been elected to lead the Reformed Council. How do you feel about that?" Nix considered the question seriously. "Happy for him. Hopeful for what it means for interspecies relations, and grateful that my heart led me somewhere better." Zara smiled, pulling Nix closer. Somewhere better indeed. As they sat together watching alien vessels move peacefully through space that had been a battlefield mere months before, Nix reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had become not the conquerors their enemies feared, but the guardians the galaxy needed. The stars stretched endlessly above them, no longer harboring threats in the darkness, but promising new adventures, new friendships, new possibilities. The age of the predecessors was over. The age of humanity and their allies had begun. In the distance, Ambassador Kethvar's ship could be seen approaching the station, bringing news from the outer systems where former hegemony worlds were learning to govern themselves. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but bright with promise. And in a small garden suspended between the stars, 2 women who had found each other across the vastness of space planned for tomorrow, secure in the knowledge that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together with friends they had won from former enemies. The silence wars were over. The age of cooperation had begun.